In this video, I talk about the tremendous amount of pain and suffering to bring crafting into my game. By the way, I'm making a game where you control a tribe of duplicating creatures, called fledglings, where your goal is to build, explore, and fight to restore order to the world. My plan to make this game is to first make an MVP with these 8 gameplay features. In my last video, I added caves and mining, and I picked crafting next because I thought it would be quick and easy, take at most 1 month. But I think I was drunk when I said this, because it ended up taking 6 months, and part of my soul died making this all work. But to be fair, it wasn't just crafting, it was also UI, animation, refactoring multiple major systems, inventory stuff, improving the art in multiple ways, shaders, more UI stuff, and like a million other things along the way. So that's my excuse for why it took so long, but realistically still, I probably could have done it in like 2 months. I'll talk about how later in the video, but I think first it's important to ask, why do I want to add crafting to my game? One term for it would be interconnected motivation. For example, in Minecraft, I really like using TNT for various reasons. And to make it, you have to craft it, and you need gunpowder, which means you have to kill creepers. But to do that, you need good gear, and to get good gear, you gotta do like 10 other things. And before you know it, you have this super fun experience, and you have a game. On top of that, when you look at what crafting is, it's super simple in principle. You collect the ingredients you need, you typically press like a button or click some UI element, and then bam, you craft it. Wow. Sounds like it'd be super easy to make, right? Fuck no. For starters, you need a UI, and before, all I had was this. Not my best work, but I'm determined, so I decided to reference over 1,000 other game UIs. Then I got inspired, and I opened Figma, and I decided I'm gonna make something super professional, AAA. And I went through a bunch of iterations, but eventually decided to do more of a minimalist style. Of course, there is a ton of hiccups, but I eventually got the player inventory to where it looks like this, and I also redid the health bar. I made it more minimalist and even gave it a touch of animation. Doing this taught me a lot about how Unity's UI components work together. Then I decided I needed to have drop shadow, so I had to make a shader for it, which took a tremendous amount of time, but with that knowledge, I also added a blur shader. Now whenever you open your inventory, it will blur and darken the background. It's very subtle, but I really like it. So yeah, it's really tough to get right, but I think a solid UI gives your game credibility. So with the UI looking good, I wanted to move on to crafting. But to craft, you need actual items to craft, and until now my item system was really messy and confusing, in both code and the editor. Like, it was really difficult to add new items, and I wasn't sure where to start. But the first thing I did was create scriptable objects for items. Scriptable objects are super useful in Unity. They basically allow you to define a class for something in code. Then it just lets you create multiple instances of that class in the editor. So it's sort of like a hybrid between code and actual assets. Doing that made adding items super easy and clean. On top of that, I added types to represent items more cleanly in the code. But the problem with these types is if I add another item asset, I need to add it here too. So I created an item generator class where it watches for any changes I make in this folder and then automatically updates this file, which is super helpful. Then I refactored my item manager and all other item usage across my code base. Now whenever I reference an item in code, it's very clear. Like, you don't have to be a programmer to know what this means, which is epic. Now that adding items is so easy, I decided to create some more. Like, I'm pretty happy with these 3 tool sprites I made, especially the axe. The only problem with it is it's a little bit too high detail. One of my greatest struggles in game dev is art, but I am slowly improving over time. Another thing, whenever items were dropped on the ground before, it looked very static, lifeless, depressing. So I changed it to where the items have a shadow now, and they slowly bob up and down in place. I think it's a nice touch. It makes it much more obvious that their item drops this way. A different place my game was lacking was the overworld assets in general, so I decided to start fixing that from the ground up, which is the grass. The grass was actually difficult to make, and I obsessed over it and tried about 40 different variations. And to save you some time, the problem is, if a tile looks repetitive, it will look bad. The reason is vertical or horizontal patterns are very obvious to the human eye. It's actually called the oblique effect, and the solution to it is to make your tile patterns kind of diagonal. Then I moved on to trees. I think I got the colors much better this time. Thankfully, I got some practice making wood textures from those tools I made. Then I made a new bush, and its style is very close to what I actually want for this game. Another thing I added that I realized is super important is shadows. Like, if you don't have a shadow on an object, especially for 2D, it doesn't look right. I also tweaked the daylighting to be a little bit more of a pale blue. It was a bit too yellow-green before. And I improved the cave lighting. Then I remembered I'm trying to add crafting in this video, so I made a craft bench. But then I realized the player doesn't have a way to place the bench on the ground. That took more code. Like, I did have a chunk system and a world manager system for managing physical objects in the world, but placing them is really hard and very new, so I had to do a lot to make it work. But now, you can place a craft bench with your player, and you can place multiple, as many as you like. Still though, how do we move forward with crafting? Well, to craft something you need a recipe, so I made craft recipe scriptable objects. Now I can make whatever recipe I want for any item. Like if I want to make a water pot, take 1 trillion pieces of stone, I can do that. I don't care. It's my game. I also had to do the UI. Started with the player craft menu, with the idea being that the player can craft simple items and also the craft bench. And you'll notice there's a craft queue and you can see the progress as the item is crafting. The way it does that is it just keeps track of an item's progress in the update method, which works since a queue is just one at a time. So you can craft a craft bench, then you place it down. And I also made the UI for the craft bench, which is similar to player craft UI, but with the idea being that you can craft more complicated items here. Also, you might have noticed that I made it to where crafting items takes time, and I'll describe why I did that a bit later, but one reason is this is a tribe RPG. So the idea is you could get one of your units to work at this bench, and that would allow items to craft much faster. So that's what I decided to do next. But to do that, I need to have an animation. So I did one where basically he's taking a hammer and he's hitting it. This took a while, but I realized to do animation better and faster, it's best to use fewer frames. Regardless, animation still takes forever, but my plan to make it easier and faster is to do the thing that Don't Starve does, where they have like libraries of eyes and limbs from different perspectives. This is much faster than drawing frame by frame. But while I was at it, I decided to do an animation finally for cutting down trees. Oh, he's a little guy. Then I fixed it, and it looks pretty good. Then I said, let's do the behavior tree logic. This required even more scripting, but you'll see you can now select and command one of your fledglings to work at the bench. Then the crafting speed is much faster, which is awesome. But you might be thinking, wait, why does crafting take time? I want instant gratification. In Minecraft, you craft instantly. I don't understand. In this game, you're not just one person, you're a tribe or a collective of units. If you could make everything instantly for your tribe, it defeats one of the core purposes of the game, which is progression by increasing your tribe size. If one fledgling had the same crafting capability as 10,000, then that's really stupid. The idea is you have a constraint and you seek to overcome it through a bigger tribe with better craft skills, that type of thing. For example, one idea is maybe like a workshop where it lets you craft even more stuff and you can have multiple fledglings working on it at the same time, but maybe it takes coal or something. But we're not adding that. Figuring that out is a problem for future me though. But yeah, the intention is meaningful progression over time that feels satisfying and prompts the player to do more exploration and expansion in other parts of the world in gameplay. Like I said earlier, interconnected motivation. Anyway, making YouTube videos is really hard and currently not that worth it. This video took about 2 weeks to make and a lot of effort, and I suspect it probably won't do that well, which is okay. I'm not mad, just kidding I am, but what can you do? I'm not totally doomed yet though. I have a plan. And I've got multiple ideas to improve the game's marketability, watchability, interestingness. My biggest problem currently, the one that keeps me up at night, is art. The art still kind of sucks, which is negative to say, but I'm fine with it. I'm more interested in being brutally honest, finding problems, and fixing them than just saying everything's great. And thankfully, I have a plan. My plan includes improving the overworld, adding more visual interest, more trees, bushes, flowers, edge textures, particles, butterflies, I don't know, that type of shit. Gameplay wise, I'm gonna make farming better. Right now it's pretty abysmal, like it looks bad, and it is bad. Truthfully, I'm gonna add better crops, better visuals, better particles, etc. And most importantly, the main character of the game, the fledgling, we are gonna boost him up. We are gonna make him look smacks. He's gonna have better eyes. He's gonna look more stylistic, more angular, a bit less pudgy. He's gonna look amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna be art maxing. Also, I will say, I did recently get to 500 subscribers, so that's something. It's not a total L. And I wanna say thank you to Pingamus. He was the 500th subscriber. Thank you so much, Pingamus. If you're watching this, you are my hero. Thank you, Pingus. Anyway, if you're watching this long, that's amazing. I expect like 2 people would watch this long, including me. So please leave a comment if you're that person, or if you're like an animator or artist or something, or anything. And if you want to just say something, give your opinion, please go ahead, do it. Next devlog coming soon, by the way. Yeah, peace.